All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live stream, our first live stream of October. Joining me again is our good friend Tim NesSmith from the USS KIDD Veterans Museum. Tim, how are you?
We're getting an echo.
You're getting an echo. Okay.
Yes.
Let's
Sorry.
see. Bear with me a second. Let's see. How about now? Still
Nope.
there?
Still there.
Okay.
But no echo. I think you got it.
Okay. I'm setting on my headsets. Sorry about that, folks.
Oh, it's back.
Hmm.
There's like a 10-second delay or something.
Huh.
Is it just me or is it chat? Can you hear it too?
Are you guys hearing an echo from me? Let's see.
It's both of us when it happens. Skip says no.
No one's hearing an echo from me. I don't hear an echo from you either, Tim.
Oh, I know what it's. I know what it is. Hold on. It's me. It's me.
Okay, no worries. Echo.
Okay, how about now?
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing an echo?
Give me a second, because it was about a 10-second delay.
Okay.
Success. It was all me.
Woohoo!
I apologize, everybody.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad we got that fixed right off the bat. But Tim, how have you been, my friend? What's happening at the museum?
Lots. It's busy. I have general Navy ship questions.
Hey, let's highlight that.
When did the Navy stop armoring cruisers and carriers? John, I can't tell you that answer. I don't know. Sorry. Right off the bat, I have a failure to answer.
Okay. Well, anyway, Tim, how are you doing?
Just staying busy. Last few weeks have been kind of a rat race, running around, coordinating things, juggling things, schedules, deliveries, transport,
finish lines in sight.
Yeah. So I came back to the office on Thursday last week and basically laid down on my floor in the office. And everybody laughed, but I was beat. So
wow.
So we had an impromptu meeting with me laying on the floor and Parks and Greg standing beside the file cabinets that all our blueprints are in my office, and just had an impromptu meeting where I was laying down on the job. So it was fun.
That would have been a great photo to post on your social media.
No, not really. Not really.
So, Tim, before we get into our topic tonight,
Yes.
I'd like to start off with a PSA.
PSA. Okay.
Yeah. So you and I, we were speaking on phone earlier about our stream for tonight, and when you called me, I happened to be reading something on museum ships in reference to the KIDD.
Okay.
So I just wanted to follow up on this. Sorry, guys, clearing my throat. USS KIDD Veterans Museum has been and will continue to remain open for business while the ship is in dry dock and throughout the duration of this federal government shutdown. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We are a state agency, but even then we don't fall in their budget. So there are times when the state has a shutdown, and because of the threat of a hurricane, but the hurricane is in Lake Charles and it's bright and sunny weather, and we stay open because people are leaving the Lake Charles area or another part of the state and they're headed toward us, and we get a lot of visitation when people are in an area and they don't know what they can do and when they can go home, so they're looking for stuff to do. So yeah, we don't fall in their annual budget. So you know, there are times where we just don't do what the rest of the state is doing,
Right.
and they're fine with that because that means
And
we're self-sustaining like we're supposed to.
correct, because as you point out, the museum does not receive annual funding from the state or the federal government. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Every once in a
And
while, we'll get a little state funding. I did a whole video on that 4 times before. Well, let's see, 4 times. I'd have to go back and watch my own video, but I think about 4 times in 42 years we got state funding.
right.
And I think the 5th time, if I remember correctly, was the dry dock. So
So, and I know we've covered this before, but while we're on this topic, who owns the ship?
that's whoever you're talking to. My interpretation of the contract is the Navy still owns the ship. They loaned it to us, even though the contract says donation contract. You read through it, and the language really says loan. They're loaning it to the state of Louisiana, and we're responsible for the money to go pick it up and bring it to wherever we're putting it. We're responsible for having a place prepped for it. We're responsible for operating her, maintaining her, and should we ever fail to maintain her in a manner that, trying to remember the exact verbiage, it's something on the order, in a manner that reflects positively on the U.S. Navy. If we ever give them a black eye with the way we maintain the ship, then they have the right to come back and take the ship back. And the cost of taking the ship back and towing it to wherever they're going to tow it, or taking it out and sinking it, we have to pay that cost off. So they basically don't want to incur any cost for the ship anymore, but they don't want it to give them a black eye.
Right.
The way that contract is set up. In recent years, the Navy has said that they're beginning to divest themselves. I've heard from some of my colleagues that they renegotiated the contract with them, and basically the ship's theirs free and clear. But they haven't done that with us yet. Now, there are others who say, no, the state of Louisiana owns it, but I'm not a lawyer, but the way I read it, it's still the Navy's. They can take her away if they want.
Theoretically, though, that could happen because, and I'm sure you've heard about the recent talk about supposedly reactivating the Iowas. Battleship New Jersey just did a video on this.
Mm-hmm.
No one's talking about reactivating Fletcher-class destroyers, and if we're being realistic, these ships are so functionally obsolete.
Yeah.
There's zero chance that's ever going to happen. They would
Right.
never take it
Anna
back
just asked
for
the
that
question in the chat, can she be put back to active duty? And the answer is absolutely. They can put her back to active duty with an unlimited checkbook. They're going to have to re-brick those boilers. They're going to have to rerun all of those pipes for moving the water and moving the fuel oil. They're going to have to pressure test all the steam pipes and probably relay most of them, and rerun all the electrical and everything. And after you get done with that, then you're going to have to train a new generation of sailors of how to run a steam plant, right? And how to run a manual 5-inch gun, because it's not the carousel type to where it automatically loads. The barrel pops up, a carousel rotates, it jacks down, loads itself, and pops back into place and is ready to fire. None of that existed back then. So you're going to have to train a whole new crew just for that ship. And we know from the second USS Kidd, the 4 Kidd-class guided missile destroyers, they were so different from the rest of the fleet and the technology in the fleet at that time that it was cheaper to get rid of all 4 of them, build 4 new Arleigh Burkes, and stop having to train specialized crews for just 4 ships. So they'll never bring these ships back into operation for it makes no sense.
Matt's asking a question I was going to rhetorically ask you. So
it would be cheaper, Matt, to build a brand new ship than to modernize Kidd with modern engines and modern guns.
Right.
That's the bottom line. It's cheaper to do something else.
Which is essentially, well, no, I was going to say that that's kind of what Ryan said, but I could be remembering wrong what he said.
I have not seen his video on that, so I can't speak to what he thinks, but I would be surprised if he thought that it's fiscally feasible.
Yeah, yeah, I'm probably remembering that wrong, so I'm not even going to comment on it.
Yeah.
So let's go back into the Wayback Machine, or let's do the time warp again for a little
Okay.
bit before we catch up to where we are right now, Friday, October 3rd, with the dry dock. Let's go back in time a little bit. When did you guys realize first the ship had to go to dry dock, or you were going to run the risk of something catastrophic happening? And how did you go about securing those initial funds to make this dry dock happen?
September of 2019, right before I left for the Historic Naval Ships Symposium in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, we noticed we had water in the bilges in 3 of the 4 engineering spaces and couldn't figure out where it had come from. We pumped it out, pumped it dry. It was dry until about a day before I left. And then here's a little bit more back in there. It's like, where did this come from? So I had already paid, we were going to lose money if I didn't go to the conference because of plane tickets and everything. And it only would come up so far and then stop. So Nathan, pulled out the pumps, started pumping again. He's going to maintain a watch on it. I went to Cobia and attended the conference. And then over the next October, November, December, over the next 3 months, a little over 3 months, I gradually lost my mind because we could not figure out where this water is coming from. It would go away for weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden it comes back in, and we don't see it happening. It just seems to magically appear overnight. And we were looking at, okay, is there a fresh water line that has just rusted through and it's dumping? Well, nothing's dumping when we're in there looking. We went through the whole process of elimination. I actually called my mentor, Tim Rizzuto, up at Slater, and I said, you got to help me because I don't know what I am missing here. And Nate was, feeling the same way. It's like, I don't get what's happening here. And I sat down on the phone with Tim for probably about 2 hours and just walked through every possibility that we had looked at, from there being a perforation of the propeller shaft outside and then something rotted on the inside, and the sand inside the shaft actually acting as a draw, pulling the water in. Holes from tanks, something migrating from another part of the ship, from one of the fuel oil and ballast tanks somewhere else.
Just want to interject real quick. When you guys noticed this, what time of the year was it? Was this when it was in the water, or when she's floating, or was this was happening like from rain events? What was going on there?
Yes and no.
Okay.
This is the issue with the river, because nowadays, used to be when I started there in 95, the river comes up, stays up for months on end. River goes down, stays down for months on end. It was a one cycle, one up, one down cycle every year. Very rarely would she lift off multiple times, and maybe twice a year, up and then right back down, and then up and stay up, down, stay down. Nowadays, the river has changed. We work more in that median range. And so she'll go up and she'll either be just above the floating level, or she'll be it'll be just below the floating level, and she'll bounce when the wakes hit her. So that actually, the end of the conversation with Rizzuto was, he's like, I said, I'm a failure. I need to just freaking quit because I can't figure out what's going on with my ship. And he was like, calm down. It's going to be okay. you've actually thought of some things I hadn't thought of, which blew my mind. I'm like, no, that's not the way this works. I call you, you're the expert. And he's like, you've been around a while. You've encountered some stuff with the ship that I didn't encounter back then. So you're doing good. Keep at it. Listen to her. She'll tell you what's wrong. And sure enough, we eventually figured out that it was the touch points. And whenever she was getting a little bit buoyant, then as she's easing off of that pad, then the metal is thin there at this point, and it's flexing, and water is squirting in for a time. And then she eases completely off of it, and it moves back out to where it's supposed to be, and it's self-sealed. And that's why we were getting water. We'd pump it out and it wouldn't come back, even if we were floating. And then when we would sit down, here comes water. And then she sets down hard enough, all of her weight's on it, and it seals up again on that rubber. So yeah, probably about December is when we finally figured it out. And at that point, we had a board meeting in January. We presented what the problem was, and Roseanne Geip was our director at that time. And she said, we need to go to dry dock. And they all kind of looked around like, oh my God, we got to do what? And I credit Roseanne because she really convinced them. She had been to dry dock with Slater. She convinced them that this is not an insurmountable, mountain that we'll never climb. We can do this. If Slater could do it, Kidd can do it.
Although it probably felt like a pipe dream at the time when it was first presented.
No, I mean, anything is possible. You just have to put your mind to it, and you have to have your team, everybody be on board. And I've had some past, opinions about our board, because our board's not static. They rotate just like politicians, just like Congress and everything. And there's been some collections of board members in the past where those folks never would have accomplished this task. But these folks that were on the board at this point in time rallied together, and they came up with a plan, and they worked the plan, and there's the money, and we were able to go. So full credit to them. It was a full team effort and a full court press, and here we are. We're almost done with dry dock.
And your previous executive director left before the funds were secured, if memory serves. Parks came in and got it across the finish line.
Yeah, it's just like trading out quarterbacks. She got the board, no pun intended, the board on board, and they were doing all the footwork and doing all the planning, and then she's like, I need to go. I have something that I've got to do. And it was something that she had been thinking about for years now of, I really would like to pursue this. And the opportunity opened up, and it was like, if I don't go after this now, I'll never be able to do it. So it's like, go with God. I hate to see you go, but pursue that avenue. And it's something basically that is going to help multiple museum ships, not just Kidd. So So she's pursuing that now, and currently she's also in a volunteering mode, serving as executive director of Tin Can Sailors, which is the Destroyer Veterans Reunion Group nationwide.
We are getting some questions about the cradle, which the cradle's gonna be the first topic we discuss tonight. I've broke down the images into several different topics for us to discuss. Let's go ahead and just get into it.
Okay.
Let's bring up some images. So this is a recent image on looking at the side of the cradle. So the port side of the ship would be right here.
Correct.
She's home.
Correct.
And
those are all the old pads.
So yeah, what are these? Is that wood? Is it rubber?
Those
what
are neoprene pads. So basically a rubbery type material.
And these are still the original ones, correct?
Those are from 1982, December of 82.
Okay.
They had a good long lifespan.
For sure. Let's see. Here's another angle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And has the river receded more since these images were taken?
No, it's about where it's gonna stay for a bit. The pool that you see there, the trapped water, has mostly dried up, and it's beginning to harden a little bit. I still would not walk out there without, hip boots, because I have sunk up to my armpits before. It's not a pleasant feeling. So
Armpits, guys.
armpit,
Armpits. Yeah.
armpits, yeah, it's
My
not
my foot
not a
went
good feeling.
in. My foot went. I went ankle deep. One of the two times I walked completely around the ship, and even that kind of freaked me out to where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Now,
So
when I sank in my armpit up to my armpits, it was the angle is not in this shot. It's further aft, past the aft mooring dolphin,
okay.
but it was about the distance out there where that little connection of land is on the other side of the pool. It was about that far out. So,
Okay.
and I was walking on solid ground one moment, no issues, not even sinking, but maybe an inch into the silt, and then the next minute, bam, I'm sinking.
So Eric has a question here. When we were talking about how she was just barely above, the blocks.
Could you balance her down and keep her in the crane until the river gets high? That's something that's been suggested by a lot of folks, but um, the catch with that is there's so many tanks, and she doesn't operate with the tanks like she did when we were in service, because none of those pumps work anymore. So we're basically putting a garden hose down in there to fill up these massive tanks. It would take a week or more, probably more, to ballast everything down, and in the meantime she's bouncing. Put more rubber bumpers on the resting points too. Not really, because there's no room for more rubber bumpers, and for the same touch point. So the what we're going to talk about, what we've done, all the experts weighing in on it have said that this is going to take care of the problem. They just didn't anticipate this back in 1982.
And we're getting into that right here. These look like new paddings.
Completely new pads that they brought in. This was brought in Monday of last week,
Okay.
and offloaded. Thomas C. sent some team members up. They worked in tandem with McKinney Salvage, our good friends down the street from us, and this is them unloading the pallets so that they can be transported. You can see right at the back, the last pallet there with the angled ends of the rubbers, the bumpers. You see a path going up the levee, and they're taking it by forklift up that to cross over the top of the levee and onto the batcher, the riverbed, on the upper shelf. You saw where the cradle sits on a lower shelf. So
Right.
they transported all of them down to the river.
And here we are, like you said, on pallets.
Yes, but the difference is this is at the end of the project, and these are all the old rubbers waiting to be
Oh, okay.
transported out.
Okay. So
So
I guess that's just getting disposed of.
that'll be recycled. Yeah.
Matt has a question for you.
I don't believe they're custom built. I believe they're cut to the size that we need. So in that manner, yes, they're custom built. But these look very much like the pads that are on the city dock in front of us, mounted vertically, and on the casino dock that is invisible behind us. So I think it's a standard mooring block type format. It's just they've cut them to the length that we need them for our situation.
Let's see. And here we are. We can see some of them being installed here.
Yeah, that's near the front of the cradle. That's the forward dolphin.
Yeah.
This is the break. You see where the concrete ends on the right-hand side of the picture. This is where the sonar dome fits down between a section of the two sections of the cradle.
I'm actually not. Where am I supposed to be looking for that? I'm not seeing
Keep
that.
coming to the right of the picture, all the way to the edge of the picture.
So
See
there's
where the
more
concrete stops?
cradle right here, or forward of this.
Probably about 6 feet further up. Yeah,
So
there's a
the
gap.
sonar dome is going to fit right here
Correct.
in this gap. Okay, I got you. Let's see. So I can't tell if this is forward or this is looking aft. Yeah.
Nope, that's looking forward.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry, looking forward because I see the paper clips here.
Right.
And let's see. So this is also looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
Now these images are not recent. I asked you to send me these earlier today because I don't know if we ever actually did this on a stream. I wanted to explain to people how this setup works for the ship with the rising and the falling of the
Mm-hmm.
river. So we can see here it's completely exposed. And when this is completely exposed like this, the ship is sitting on this.
Correct.
So she's got two collars that are attached to the ship that hold her in place on these two mooring dolphins right here.
Actually,
And
4 collars, 2
there's
for each
4.
mooring dolphin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense. You got 4 poles right here.
Right.
So yeah, when this section is completely submerged, that means the river's really high. It's probably over this bank over here. And at that point, the ship rises up and she floats, but she stays attached via those collars to these mooring dolphins. River goes down, she goes down, and so forth. So yeah, I just wanted to, I don't know if we ever explained that to folks before. So I just wanted to give them that visual.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect explanation.
Eric has a question. How are
How
the
are the
pads
pads attached to the
attached?
concrete? They have originally, and this is one of the design changes we've made. Originally, they were attached with steel bolts, and of course, steel in the water for 40 years corrodes. So by the time we got her out of the cradle in April of 24, she had already lost a handful of pads because the river had eaten away the bolts. And let's see, you can see how some of them are off kilter there at the top. I'm pointing at the screen and putting my finger in the camera. On the aft end of the cradle, there's some there. And if you look at the upright supports on the left,
right
of the
here.
picture,
I see
right
this
in the
one's
middle.
missing.
There's one missing from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was time. It was time for the cradle, and it was time for the ship. So
correct. And yep, there we have a full on shot. And I can see with these, I can see the gap for a whole lot better for where the sonar dome goes.
mm-hmm. And then there's another gap closer in with that other picture. I'm not really sure why that is there, but yeah, you see the very front.
Right.
It's missing all of its pads by that point, but there's a little gap right there at the front, and I'm not exactly sure why that's there. I haven't seen anything that details that.
Yeah, it seems like if something was there and it's gone, that makes sense. But if something was never there, then the very
there were
prow.
pads there. They're just missing, but the gap in between.
Okay.
I haven't seen the gap in the concrete. I haven't seen why that's there, but there's got to be a reason. I just haven't run across the paperwork yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything you want to say more about the cradle before we move on to our current updates?
Well, can you go back a few photos to show the new pads on them?
Sure.
There we go. Okay. So another adjustment that we've made is that, no, don't zoom in too far. There you go. So the other thing we discovered is that there was a mistake made back in '82, and it wasn't something that was readily apparent. And again, this was the first. I'm not throwing shade at any of the people that designed this. This was the first time someone had designed a museum, something, this sort of cradle system for a museum ship to rise up, sit down, rise up, sit down.
And
We're
to their
the
credit,
only,
look how long it lasted.
right. And we're the only, to my knowledge, we're the only ship that is designed that way in the world to be displayed both dry and wet. The Anna, that stuff grows up so fast. In less than a week. It'll grow up. So we actually had the city come down and weed eat all of that so that the cradle could be worked on, because it'll grow up around it. Yes, that is the cradle pile. The cradle pads, not the dolphin, not the mooring dolphins, but the cradle pads replicate the dry docking plan for a Fletcher class destroyer. This is KIDD's, and each ship has its own dry docking plan, but this is KIDD's dry docking plan from her Navy plans.
That does beg an interesting question, though. Say Sullivan's came down here and needed a situation like that. Could Sullivan's fit perfectly into that, or is that ship too modified?
Not necessarily. And here's the crux of the matter. If you built all the ships at the same shipyard, I would say probably yes. The odds are very high that one could fit in another's docking plan. When you build them at, what was it, 11, 12 different shipyards around the country, each of them has something just a little bit different between the shipyards. So it's not always a guarantee. You might be close, but you might have a few differences where you have to move a block here or there, a foot or two in a different direction.
Right.
Every Fletcher class was different, not necessarily, but there are differences amongst some of the different Fletchers. We've had crews come on board and go, this was 5 feet over in this direction on my ship,
right,
or that catwalk behind the torpedo tubes on the 01 level. We did not have that. So, and that may be just something that off of a modification that came from original build to later, as designs changed. That may have been as originally built. So, yes, no, we will be having anodes. They will not be zinc. KIDD had zincs on her when she came to town. Zinc does not work in fresh water. So we are changing over to magnesium anodes. Sometime in the spring. That's all I can tell you. It's all dependent upon the river. The river is our controlling factor to get out. It's our controlling factor to get in. And only God above knows. The hulls are the same in the basic dimensions, but again, one of those sea chests might just be a little bit to one side or the other. That's why they're all individual. All the docking plans are specific to their ship.
I think you'll find more differences in superstructure than you will hull dimensions. Is that a fair statement?
That's more accurate, yeah. But again,
you could still have some differences.
You could still have some small difference between shipyards. Because remember, none of this was built with computer graphics and everything. This is all just looking at the plans and then laying the keel down and doing it by hand.
Right. All right, so I'm going to get us out of our cradle images, and we are going to move on to,
if you don't mind, one last thing for that image. The thing that they didn't realize was all of their pads were the same exact elevation, like height for the pads individually. And what that meant was the pads on the shoulders, on the uprights, should have been a little bit smaller, because when the ship sat down, they're the same height as what's on the keel. And that meant that the sides of the ship were bearing the weight. the primary weight, or not the primary weight, but they were bearing a lot more weight than they should have on the sides. All the weight should have been on the keel. The sides should have been just supporting her, keeping her from tilting one way or the other. So that was part of the problem too, of why it was getting so much wear and tear on the sides. So these have been adjusted to where the bumpers on the sides are not as tall and as the ones on the keel. So the keel will take the full weight of the ship and they'll support from the sides.
Which is how it was intended to be.
Correct.
Okay.
So little tiny details.
Right. So let's get into another area. Let me pull this up here. We've had some, what's the right word? Partnership, I guess, between yourselves and BB-35 USS Texas.
That's correct.
And I believe these are now the images. You guys sent off some of your guns to Texas.
Correct.
And they have been in the process of restoring your guns.
Right. We sent our 40 millimeters to them to basically be broken down, torn apart, refurbished, repaired where repairs were needed, and then reassembled. We went to see Texas in dry dock, went to see Orlick when she was in dry dock. And this is what we all do all through the fleet, is when one of us is going through a particular major evolution, if we can and if we can afford it, we go and see it. There's folks going up to see Cobia right now in Sturgeon Bay, where she's going through her dry docking, so that they can learn, so that, you know, a lot of us have never done this before. I've so far had Missouri come through. We had Texas come through. They've already gone through it. We had COD come through. They've already gone through it. New Jersey came through. They'd already gone through it by the time they came. But we all visit and learn from each other. And so we went to see Texas in dry dock. And while we were there, we went to their warehouse, where they have their shop set up, where they've been refurbing all their guns, because they pulled all of theirs off too. And we got to looking at it. And then when it came time for us to start thinking about doing it ourselves, we looked around. We're like, you know what? What if we asked Texas, would it be cheaper for us and faster for us if they had time and manpower to do it? Could we pay them what it would take us to set it up here, and it cost us to restore them here? If we shipped them over there, paid them, that's a little extra income for them that they're not expecting. And they've already done this with theirs. They've made all the mistakes. They've learned how to do it better and faster. They would just blow right through ours versus us bootstrapping, hiring people in, getting a workshop set up where we didn't have one set up before, and starting from scratch. It makes more sense to do that. So we started talking to them, and they evaluated what their schedule was with their stuff, because of course their ship comes first. And and then they came back and they're like, yeah, we can do this. We can do this for you. You want to do it? And it's like, let's do it. So how often do ships have to be put in dry dock? Well, Karen, it depends on wood or steel, but the National Park Service has a recommendation that wooden ships should go into dry dock at least every 5 years, and steel ships should go in at least every 10. Now, the reality of that is the steel ships generally take a lot longer to go in. Of course, they can last a lot longer, but most museums don't have the funding to do it every 10 years. One I know of does, and that is USS Pampanito in San Francisco. She has built up a huge endowment. They've really handled their business end well. And as a result, Pampanito goes in every 5 years and looks beautiful as a result of it. Another one that has to go in more often is LST 325. I don't remember how often, but the Coast Guard requires, since she's an operating ship, she sails, she has to go in on a more regular basis as well. And hers is much more rigorous just because she is sailing.
So what are we looking at in this image right here?
This is the housing for, you're looking at the bottom of the housing for the platform for the 40 millimeter twin 40 millimeter.
Okay.
So the little brackets on the bottom, those are where the feet go to, you step up onto that to step onto the gun. So we're looking underneath the gun right now.
Right. So almost like I would be looking up if the gun were in place, and I've got my feet like here and here, correct? Or do I have that wrong?
This would be if we're laying on the deck looking up at the gun. And those two brackets are on the back of the gun where you get on the gun.
Oh, okay. I got
And
you.
then everything up at the top right here is where the gun barrels are sticking out, and in the middle traversing up and down. And then your seat and all the motors and everything would be on the front end, on the top up there.
And what do we have here?
I have no clue. It's one of the panels, that is on the front or the side of the gun that is mounted onto that platform.
Gotcha.
I want to say shell chutes, but that's not the shell chutes. I'm not exactly sure what part of the gun that is. If I could twist it and turn it 3D and look at it, I might be able to figure it out. But I've been looking at that for a couple of weeks, and I've been like, what the devil is that? And I still can't put my hands on it. It's got to be something.
Of course, once you get it back and it's all assembled, you're going to see that on there, and you're going to be like, of course, it was this.
Yeah, exactly. More side panels. That's one of the motors that sits on the front, sticks out the front of the gun, on the front of that platform that we saw. It would be at the top of the picture.
Okay. This looks like a base.
That's a base. And I think if you were able to download those pictures on the link I sent you, you've got images of this being put back together again with dry ice and everything.
I believe I did get those. So this is an interesting comment here.
John, they were all built around the same time, so the only difference between them would be the Iowa. All the battleships 5-inch guns are twin barrels versus Kidd's single barrels.
And we got something out here on the ground.
Pieces and parts. There's your shell ejection chutes right there.
Okay.
Seats.
I see the seat and where the feet would go.
Correct. And the gear and the I can't think of it. I want to say gearbox, but that's not the right name for it. But this is all the stuff that still needs to be, taken care of and cleaned up and blasted and painted, all of that.
Gotcha.
There we go. So that's that stand that was covered underneath the tarp in the earlier pictures. This is what it looks like, all cleaned up. Gas brake pedals.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is them. They've disassembled the whole rotation mechanism and cleaned it up, and they've got to put that metal ring back into the housing here, and so they are using dry ice to shrink it. You wouldn't think, you'd have to shrink, you'd be able to shrink a metal ring, but they're shrinking it and then installing it.
Physics, folks.
Physics, chemistry, all the above.
There you go.
Yeah. They sent me the picture without any explanation. I'm like, what the devil are you doing to my gun? And see, this is why we sent it to them. They know they've made their mistakes. They've learned how to do it better, faster, with less. They're working smarter instead of harder. We would have been working harder for a while, and by the time we finished everything, then we would have been ready to work smarter, but the job would have been over. So
precisely. So
yeah.
I mean, all around, it just seems to make more sense to do what you guys did and send it to them.
Yeah. And people love seeing museums collaborate. Here you go.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah. They're testing it, making sure it works properly.
Look how nice and neat that's looking.
Yeah, right.
Let's play that again.
Hundreds of thousands of little Boy Scouts are going to do their best to break that.
I was just thinking the same thing, to be honest, which is
more than a few museum ship fans who want to relive World War II.
Yeah, like you guys
Y'all break my gun in the future.
Like you guys are going to have or people visiting are going to have a field day with those guns moving like that.
Oh yeah, and to be fair, those guns have moved like that since I've been involved. Once we started focusing on taking care of the leaks, our regular maintenance slid, and some of them locked up. So
now the gun stuff, the images we just looked like, that was all part of the original contract, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to be getting into.
No. Let me rephrase that.
No.
The guns did not fall under the contract with the shipyard. All the shipyard committed to do was take them off and then put them back on when we were done with them. The guns were funded through a grant from our foundation, which had gone out on its own and petitioned the state for a small grant, and they got a small grant for that.
Gotcha.
The 40 millimeters are not being restored to firing capability because ours sit out in the open where anybody can climb up and play with them and everything. And we do not want working guns in the hands of the general public. So,
indeed.
Sorry. I know that makes me a bad, evil, nasty guy. So you should hear some of the flack I take sometimes when I say, no, we're not putting working guns where the general public can get to them. And I'm like the devil.
Yeah, imagine that. So we are going to be getting into this extension of dry dock now. So, and I think it's important to clarify, the original contract expired. All that work was completed in July. Is that correct?
End of June, really, and
okay.
If they had wanted to, if they had pushed, they could have probably wrapped it up in May, but they knew we were working to get the extension, and so they had some other projects, so they were able to, they're like any other business. This is going to continue, we think, so we can finish all this up in the matter of 2 weeks. So let's shift some workers over here and take care of this project. So, basic juggling of resources. So yeah, they could have finished in May, but they continued on and took care of minor stuff and everything until they got word.
And this new contract, this is not money that was given to you guys by the state. This is money that was raised through fundraising and private donations. Is that correct?
No, actually, we did go back to the state, and we showed them, and don't get me wrong, we have been raising money privately as well. And that's going into other stuff that we're doing, most notably the work going on in the warehouse to restore equipment that's not covered by the shipyard. But we went back to the state and we showed them, okay, this is what we thought we had, and this is what really showed up when we blasted the ship. There was a little bit more hull damage, and we went to the shipyard and we worked with them and we took a few items off of the table so that those funds for those things could be put into the hull, because that was our first and foremost mission from the state. Was, we're going to give you this money, you're going to make sure the ship's hull is good. And so that's what went into it. They really liked the steward's mate's quarters, us backfitting to get her closer to 45 to tell that story. So we got that done. And some of the other stuff that was in the contract, they wanted, they liked the list of items that we were going to do, that we negotiated. So the stuff that we took off was really kind of wish list stuff, except for one item. And so we said, the stuff we're doing is going to be just adding on to the existing safeguards of the ship. The cradle is done, the hull is done, the steward's mate is done. We're going to be doing expansion joints. That's going to we're keeping water from coming up into the ship. Now this, which we wanted to do, we can do it in Baton Rouge, but it's much easier to do it in the shipyard, much cheaper to do it in the shipyard. And you don't have to shut down tourism because the tour route runs right under these things. We want to do the expansion joints. That'll keep water from coming inside the ship from above. And they were like, yeah, okay. And so everything that we showed them, they were like, this is good. And how much is it going to cost? Well, it's going to cost this much. And they're like, that's not much. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. And so they okayed it, and we got the green light and pressed the accelerator.
So the short version is they liked what you guys were doing. They thought you were spending the money correctly. So they decided to contribute more to, as you always say, make her better than the bare minimum.
Make her better than the bare minimum. And they the team that went to them and talked to the different legislators also brought up, look, this is how much you put in so far, and this is how much she's generated over the past 40 years for the state. And they look at the numbers, they crunch it, and
always comes down to the numbers.
It always comes down to the numbers. And, not every politician deserves the reputation that, the blanket opinion of American politicians have. And they looked and they said, this is a good investment. This is good for the state. So that's the bottom line that allowed them to help us.
And you can correct me if I've got these numbers wrong, but I seem to remember reading an article last year when it first came out, how much money the state initially gave you guys. An article also came out at the same time saying, hey, this is putting $3 million through jobs in tourism back into the Baton Rouge economy. And it was projected to go up to around 5 or so once she gets back. Do I have that right?
I don't know about the 5. I did hear something just today about 3 million annually. And that's not like our earnings at the museum. People coming to town, people staying in hotels, people eating at restaurants, taxes on, like, sales taxes on stuff we sell in the gift shop and on admission tickets, payroll taxes, when they pay me and I go out and, they do the payroll taxes, and then I go out and I spend my money in the state of Louisiana. All of that combined. Yeah.
Right. Let's get back into we kind of tangented it off there for a minute, but I thought that stuff was worth mentioning.
Yes. Mounts 51, 52, and 54 rotate and elevate. Mount 53 rotates. She only goes so high. They cannibalized her a little bit to get the others operating. Mount 55, right when you first walk on board on the end of the ship, on the fantail, the back of the ship, Mount 55 does not rotate anymore. And it did, when I started working there, it did elevate up and down. And our volunteers got aggravated because the little Boy Scouts would leave it sticking straight up in the air. And then, they took and got it back in the 15-degree position where everything is normally lined up. And they wired the controls shut. And that was before I got out on the ship. And, when you don't use something, it freezes up. And so that froze up. And I've gotten some of our field day volunteers over the years to free it up. But once it freezes up, it wants to go back to freezing up. So right now, sitting idle for about a year, I'm pretty sure it's frozen up again. We'll have to go back to town on that. What direct assistance does Baton Rouge provide? We get a small grant along with a bunch of the other museums in Baton Rouge. I want to say in the past, I don't know what it is right now because Baton Rouge with St. George breaking away has undergone a lot of changes in the budget items and everything. And I don't handle that budget stuff. I stay away from the finances if I can. I spend the money that everybody brings in. That's my job. I spend it on the ship and try to spend it, reasonably and not excessively. But at its highest point, I want to say it was a little over $200,000 about 15 years ago or so. So Mount 55 is the only one we let the public in. Correct. It is completely disengaged. You can't hurt yourself in there unless you just slam your head or your elbow or whatever into solid steel. So please don't do
or
that.
If you run headfirst into it,
yeah,
probably be a bad idea too.
Just move carefully because it's steel and steel hurts.
Well, let's get into some shipyard photos concerning the new updated contract. What are we looking at here?
That's sea chest. And everybody was asking why we were going to remove the sea chest. And they got a little upset with my Gen Z answer of no cap because we cut the caps off. The sea chest, for those that don't know, are through hull, not hole, but through hull openings. And that's for either letting water in or pumping water out. And why would you let water in? Well, sometimes you need to have water. Well, not sometimes, all the time. You need to have water coming into your condensers in the engines for cooling. And you need to have water coming into your evaporator to provide fresh water. They will change the salt water to fresh water. And then you've got pumps, when you have feed water coming out of the boilers, when you're done with it, it's got too many impurities and you can't use it anymore. You dump it into the bilge and you pump it out from the bilge through the hull and back into the ocean. So all of these openings that you'll see were through hull openings for that sort of stuff. And when they decommission a ship, they'll put a box over these so that if they need to come back and activate the ship, they can cut them off and she's ready to go. They just, pull all the cosmoline off of the pumps, refurbish the pump, overhaul it, and she's good to go. But for museum ships, you don't really need that anymore because they're not going anywhere by order of the Navy and the Navy contract that we get her from. And so instead of having a bunch of protrusions sticking out, causing a lot of friction with the water, causing some electrolysis possibly, also getting just junk hung up on it. My Facebook viewers for a while have been saying that I have an unhealthy fixation with driftwood, and driftwood gets hung up on this stuff that juts out. So Thomas C is gone through and plated over all of these openings, and it's one smooth hull from the bow to the stern now. Nothing for stuff to catch on, and nothing that would provide excessive friction. Yes, it is a closed loop system. It leaves the water boils into steam in the boiler. Steam goes into the engine room, goes through the turbines, and eventually makes it, or the generators, and eventually makes its way back to the condenser, which is a big, basically think a big pot with pipes running through it, and the big pot opens up through some of these sea chests into the ocean. So you've got cold ocean water surrounding these pipes, and the two don't mix. They just touch the outside of the pipe. Steam comes through that pipe, cools down against that cold metal from the cold water, and turns back into water and goes back into the boiler and heats up and goes back through the cycle again. Kidd has 1, 2, 3, 4 boilers.
Pop quiz for my Titanic people. How many boilers did Titanic have?
These are the caps that would have been over the sea chest, just a few of them.
Okay.
And I got kind of artsy. That's a light fixture in the center of that hole.
Correct, Mark.
So yeah, you can see through the sea chest up into there. Now, the one thing that we asked them to do when they took these sea chests off was, and there may be a photo in this collection here where you see a bunch of piping and everything. We asked them to cut the piping that connects to the hull on the inside away just a little bit from the hull, so that once they plate it over, if something happens to that covering, that flush plate, if there's a leak, then we know where the leak is, rather than it filling up the pipe and traveling through all this miles of pipe that's inside the ship and then dumping out somewhere, and us not knowing where the actual leak is.
I definitely don't know the answer to this one.
I do not know the answer to that. If you're talking about the piston type engines, then I believe Texas is the only one still around that has the piston type engines, other than the Liberty and the Victory ships.
That would have been
warship.
That would have been like Dreadnought and earlier.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Iowas and the Alabama, the South Dakota class and the North Dakota class have turbines.
Right.
Don't quote me on that, because I'm not a battleship expert. I've studied destroyers for 30 years. That's it. But I'm pretty sure they have turbines. Texas, I think, is the only battleship that has the reciprocating, the piston type engine. And she's a National Historic Landmark, and because of her engines, she is a National Engineering Landmark as well.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So we're looking at some stuff here that was removed. What are we looking at here?
These are more of the covers. This is the previous one that you saw was on starboard side the day I was taking these pictures, and this is on port side.
Eric coming through here. He's probably right.
I would say you're probably right, Eric. I have, that's a question for our new team member, Greg, because he just left Olympia and Bakuna and came down to join the pirate crew.
Have you made him aware yet that his presence on a live stream is required?
I have said it was requested. I have not said it was required. So
see, you just used the wrong word.
Yeah. See, we'll be down there on Monday, and he'll be with me, and so we'll try to link up with you for lunch, and okay. We'll see if you can convince him that it's required.
Let's see. What's this?
He was on the social media for Bakuna and Olympia quite a bit, and he does a good job. So I think if you can convince him, he'll be happy to talk about stuff, especially Olympia and Bakuna. He and Constellation. He's got several ships under his belt.
And I know hardly anything about Olympia, so that would be a great discussion.
No, the engineering spaces are off limits now. However, have you ever considered taking tours?
I'm
Is that the
guessing
question?
I think that's what he means, or she means.
So what I would like to do, Terry, when we get back, I would like to start something that I've observed from a distance aboard North Carolina, and that is I want to develop. And if we get more help, if we get, we're trying to get funding to bolster our education program. While all this is going on, we're still writing grants and requests and all that. If we get the help, I want to bolster the education program by having a propulsion, like specialized tours, not the general tour of the ship. If you come on so and so date and you sign up for it early, then you could take a propulsion tour, and I'll take you. I would schedule it like while the water is down in the late fall, and I'll take you through the engine room, one of the engine rooms. I'll take you through one of the fire rooms, and I'll take you down below, and I'll show you where the sea chests were and how they operated, and I'll show you the props and just explain how all that works and how Fletcher's had really crappy rudders and the Iowa class battleships could outturn them. So embarrassing. And then for Korea, they modify, all of that good stuff. I want to do a gunnery or a weapons tour, specialized tour. And then I want to do one specifically about operations, specifically the CIC, because the CICs were really developed on the destroyers out at Guadalcanal. And then they began getting a picture of what's going on around them. And that helped operate the ship in combat so much better than what they had been working with before the war. So I want to talk about stuff like that. So specialized tours is
Right.
one way we're looking at doing that, and propulsion would be one of them.
I think one of my followers, Ozzy, would pay double the price of admission if you could just bring him to the Spud Locker on the ship.
The Spud Locker?
Yeah.
Is he the one making potato jokes in the chat?
Yeah, Ozzy lives for the potato room.
Okay. I can do that, but it'll cost him $3,000.
He'd probably pay it. So what are we looking at here?
Before we go there, Lunar, I've been trying to win the lottery for about 15 years now, buddy. So you're not giving me anything new there. This is looking again through one of the sea chests, and they have removed the connection point so that now I can instead of looking into a dark pipe, I'm actually looking into I want to say this is an engine room. Yeah, I think this is an engine room.
Okay.
So this is just me being artsy. Ooh, look, I can see stuff through the hole, no sort of special photo. It's just a sea chest. And this is a great example. This is part of the reason why I took it. How do you know what's going on? So this is before they've cut anything away. So you can see the valve, and the valve is closed. It's a gateway valve. And there's inside the ship in that area, there is a big hand wheel, and somebody cranks this big hand wheel, and that plate rotates on that central shaft right there, and it rotates open. So
excellent.
This is a scoop for one of the condensers, and they'd have to go in and clean the condensers, clean the condenser tank every once in a while. And they would talk about finding fish in there, finding a shark or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, just all chopped up and torn up because it got forced into with the ship going, 20 knots or so, and it's scooping water up in there. It's not sucking it up, mind you. It's natural flow of the water going through that being forced through that opening, and small shark or whatever gets stuck on there and then gets in there and just gets, torn up.
And this is all sealed off now, is it not?
This is every opening that you're seeing now is covered with a flat plate so that there's no friction, no resistance. She got a smooth hull now.
All right. What are we looking at here?
What is this? This is an expansion joint in the galley. So you're looking at the port side entrance where there was an oven. The oven is just barely visible on the left of the picture, the black line on the left of the picture. And right under that pink tarp and above it, the fire tarp, you see this shaft of light. There you go, right there, above it and going down the wall. That's our expansion joint in that area. And that goes up on top on the ceiling, on the overhead, and goes all the way across to the other side of the deck house and down again in the same manner. So the only underwater protrusion is the sonar dome now.
I think it's now.
No, that is incorrect. We removed the sonar dome. So the sonar dome is currently off so that we have the best chance possible to get her back in the cradle without having, the near miss that we had getting out. And right now we're not going to put that sonar dome back on because that's a Cold War sonar dome. Instead, we'll probably in time fabricate a World War II design sonar dome and put that back into place. The catch is, even though it'll be accurate appearance, it'll be in the wrong location because the cradle was built off of Cold War docking plans. So it'll be in the wrong location, but it will look the correct appearance.
Real quickly, I know what expansion joints are through my studies on Titanic, and I'm sure it works a similar way on all ships, but you're going to be able to explain it better than me. Can you let the viewers, can you give them a quick explanation as to what the expansion joints do?
I can, and my wife unknowingly helped me with this. So I've got a notepad here. Imagine this is a stick, and this stick is the representation of the deck house on top of the ship. So the hull will flex as it goes through the waves. And expansion joints are designed not on the hull, but on the superstructure, on the topmost part. Because if I take and bend this now, the most tension, the most pressure is happening at the top of the bend, not down here on the sides, but on the top. Or if it's going lengthwise, then, the superstructure, if we're going this way and the ship bends, you're having pressure at the top and all the way down this bend. So they put those U joints shaped like a U, like this, on the deck house. I would be looking down the length of the deck house now, forward to aft. They put those joints there so that the deck house doesn't break apart. It has just a little bit of room to flex because it's at the top of that arc when the hull flexes. So it gives flexibility to the ship. And the joint is connected by heavy duty rubber. So it looks like a huge gap right now, Anna, because this picture was taken before they made the repair. They've pulled all the old stuff off of it, and they're getting ready to put the new rubber on it. And it has since been repaired.
Okay. So that's actually there. When I noticed it, I was kind of in my mind, I'm wondering if that's just lens distortion or if it really is, the gap was really like that.
The gap is really like that. And then you have basically just rubber folded across and bolted to either side of it.
Okay.
John, we don't know what we're going to do with the sonar dome yet. It's huge in comparison to the museum building. And most people looking at it won't really know what they're looking at. Even if I put a sign there saying sonar dome, they'll probably go, oh, and walk on. So as an exhibit, it's not really that exciting. There's nothing inside the dome still. So it's kind of superfluous. We don't know if we'll chop it up and use it for a fundraiser for souvenirs. You can have an original piece of the USS Kidd, or if we'll do something else with it. Some people have been saying, give it to Sullivan's, and in the chats whenever we talked about it. But Sullivan's is got the same issue with us. She's real close. She doesn't have a lot of draft, and those seaches drop her down. It would crush it if it was on Sullivan's. So I don't know what we're going to do with it yet. That's something that we can sit on for a while and make a decision later once we've got all of our ducks in a row. That's the
looking a lot
there's an
cleaner.
overlap plate. Huh?
Yeah, that looks a lot cleaner.
Yeah. So that plate is folded open to where you can see, what you saw on the inside. You can see through, and then this will close. And of course, it's not bolted on, so it just slides back and forth as the ship flexes. And there'll be one on top as well.
Correct. I'm pretty sure I've been in here.
What's that?
I'm pretty sure I've been in here. This is on the tour route.
You have been here. So now we're facing the opposite side of the ship. That was port side, and this is starboard side.
And there's the other, the starboard side joint right here.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have done this repair in Baton Rouge years ago with a field day. And let me tell you, it took all weekend with a whole bunch of people on.
But as you say, it's better to just let the shipyard do this.
Yeah, and we had to close down the galley because we were working on it. So, if we were replaced with, there's two of them like this, and the other one runs through the midships passage through sick bay, emergency radio, and the supply office. So you're shutting down two major portions of the tour route to do the work.
Just a random thought I just had. I imagine kids flexing a whole lot in the water than say something like Titanic would have, because she's probably, or most of the time, traveling at a much faster speed. She's hitting those waves more, I would think.
Titanic was probably pushed through the waves where, like the battleships and carriers do, whereas the destroyers are lightweight enough to where they're riding up and over the waves. And
right.
In. So, yeah.
There's a look from.
There's the overhead.
Yep. And this is stepped away to the side, but the oven would be where we saw that it would basically make a 90 degree turn and slide back into that slot where the expansion joint is on the port side. The expansion joint runs atop the ovens right there. Do the kids' lights work? Which lights? I'm imagining he's inquiring about exterior lighting. Is the ship lit up at night, or is light shining on her at night or at night?
There are no lights shining on her. She has deck lights that we've installed. They are a modification because of overnight camping. And I say they're a modification. They might have had some on during the war, but not as many as we have now, because we have people walking around in the dark on an old World War II ship. Exactly. Sailors would have known where not to trip. So.
Right. There we are, looking down on the expansion joint.
Right. And they're fabricating a new cover plate. That's why you don't see it anywhere there. And this is down in the reefer deck. So the reefer deck is where the refrigerators and the freezer are. And there is a pump room right outside of the reefer deck. And that's where the refrigeration pumps, circulate. You can see in the top of the picture there some of the coils that are on the sides of the freezer there. We're looking into the meat locker here, which is the freezer. And the constant condensation and the humidity of the freezers and of the refrigeration pumps began to rot away the deck in the pump room. To make sure that they were going to take and replace that. This is one of the things we took off the table. And with the new contract, we were able to put back onto the table. They were able to pull all those pumps out of the room, and that'll be a picture coming up, I'm sure, and then replace the entire deck just like they did up on the fantail, and then put all the pumps back into place. They opened up the flooring of the freezer and the refrigerators to check and see how the deck was underneath it, and they only found a couple of spots, in the small spots in the in the refrigerator. No, I'm sorry, in the freezer, in the meat locker, right next to the door on the aft end, close to where the pumps are. And then where I'm standing taking this picture, there's a little vestibule that you stand in, and the doors swing open from either side. You can't open all the doors at once because you won't be able to have a place to stand. So there was a little bit of deck wastage in that little vestibule. And then everything else was outside of the pump room. So that was a nice surprise that everything under the refrigerators wasn't just rotted out.
I want to get to these two comments real quick. Lunar, if when we're done, if you go back and catch the replay, we went into great detail about the cradle system.
And I'll add to what we said earlier. The changes that we've talked about in videos to the kid herself on the touch points. They cut out, cropped, and renewed the metal on those touch points. The metal that has gone back into those touch points is thicker than the rest of the hull. And I think we'll probably have a couple of photos of the structural work, skeleton work that we're doing to the frames and the longitudinals. Behind those touch points, they've added extra framework, extra skeleton, so that when she sits down on the pads, at no point, if she moved just a few inches to one side or the other, she will not have anything hitting those touch points that doesn't have a bone behind it to support that skin. So,
right. So essentially more reinforcement where she's going to be resting on the cradle.
Right. And the collars that you mentioned earlier that fit to the mooring dolphins now have that neoprene lining in to take up any slack, so there won't be any shifting. Well, not any shifting, but there'll be very minimal shifting side to side, which would affect how she sits in the cradle as well.
Right. John, yes and yes. Correct, Tim?
Oh yeah, that's why I nodded. Yeah, I don't need to say anything. You got it.
Yep.
Got it, my friend.
Yep. Yes and yes. All right. Let's see what we have next.
That's that vestibule I was talking about. So they did a little bit of metal repair in there.
Ken, what's happening?
Ken Stano.
We got to get Ken back on with us one time.
Oh, Ken's fun. I haven't done anything with him in a while. I guess he was like sick of me after he came down to Baton Rouge.
All that Cajun food y'all fed him.
Yeah, he's still feeling the heat from it.
Oh yeah. So sorry.
Hey Ken, while I got you, it's getting cooler. It's like 80 degrees now instead of like 90 and 100.
Right. You got to come back down.
Come back down.
So what would you say we're looking at here?
This is the vestibule. So you can see one of the doors at the top for the freezer on the left. It's swung open. There's a door behind it leading into the vegetable prep space. And then on the right, there's a door leading to the eggs and dairy space.
Okay. And let's see. Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so this is sitting underneath, this is out in the pump room, and this is sitting underneath the pumps. So that frame sitting there you
Me
go.
too, Ken.
That frame, that I-beam in the center of the picture that everything's rotted out around, that's what was supporting the pumps. Now, The framework underneath this, the skeleton of the ship, there's no danger of the pumps falling through because it's mounted to these I-beams, and these I-beams are connected to the frames. But the decking around it was rotted out, and that's just going to continue and get worse unless we addressed it. So that's why we put it back on the table so that we could take care of it. And this is hot work. It's shipyard work. It's not something we could have done in Baton Rouge.
Correct.
We can do hot work, but we can't do this sort of hot work.
Right. We're looking straight out the side of the ship, right?
You're looking straight out the side of the ship from the pump room. So the ladder that if you've ever toured KIDD and you've gone into the enlisted mess, you see a ladder going down below. And everybody always asks, what's down that ladder? So that ladder, I'm standing on the ladder at the bottom, and I'm taking the picture looking out the side of the ship.
So we've got a question here for you.
The shipyard, after they made the retrofitting back to a World War II rudder, yes, they did exactly what the Navy did back then. They pumped it full of, if I remember correctly, linseed oil, or the modern equivalent of it, and let it sit, and then they drained it out and sealed it up. And that's what the Navy did back in the day, and that's what we did again.
What are these?
We got some good questions. I got to commend everybody. We've got some really good questions.
Oh yeah, this is
detailed
fantastic.
questions on this stream. Well done, guys.
What are we looking at here? These little chutes or whatever you want to call them.
Air conditioning. This is air moving in and out. And I've had pointed out on our YouTube channel, this is the same sort of tubing that they use when they're dealing with hazmats, but there was no hazmats in this area for them that they were disturbing. You can see the big pipe right there that's on the left that's encapsulated. There's asbestos around that, but there's also
I was about to ask if that's asbestos.
Yeah. You see pipes on the ship that looks like it has plaster of Paris around it. That's mastic and canvas, and another layer of mastic and another layer of canvas. I joke all the time that, as we maintain these things, you don't get rid of it. You don't rip the old stuff off. You cover it and cover it. And so I joke that back in the day, that giant pipe was probably about, the size of a quarter, but it's an exaggeration, but I think it's funny. Did they sandblast her before painting her, or just painted up? No, we blasted her down to bare metal. Then they applied a zinc coating while she was in dry dock so that she would not flash rust. And then they have started painting now, started priming, and they're on a top secondary coat now. And so before they started that, they blasted the zinc off and put a priming coat on.
And spoiler alert, you want to stay till the very end because we are going to see what the hull is looking like right now, like as of yesterday, today?
Yesterday.
Yeah, as of yesterday.
Excuse me.
Only you can answer this question, Tim.
It cannot be or has been answered already, but will the ship be involved with Greyhound 2's production? I have been talking with them. There's no NDA on that. But right now they're planning to do everything down in Australia and New Zealand. So I don't know that they'll have any interaction with any of us, but they're talking to several different people, asking questions and everything. So we help them where we can.
So let's move on. What are we looking at here?
I'm standing in the hole and I'm shooting back toward port side.
You're looking inward?
Looking inward, yep. So the reefers, the refrigerators and the freezer are off to the right where that caution tape is. You can see the door sitting open there. And the ladder coming down from the mess deck would be right in front of that caged grill in the backside. And I'm further out now looking in the hole.
You see you're on the top of that little makeshift stairway that's right here.
Right. And so you see where all the equipment is sitting. That's the deck that they're repairing. And then you look in the gap underneath there, and that's the reefer void. And that's where they would store, canned goods and stuff. And back in the day, the Brits had a term for the guy that would take care of that space, and it carried forward from our studies, carried forward into the 21st century. You call the guy in charge of that area the Jack of the Dust, because of all the dust from the flour and the bread and everything that they would store in those areas on the old ships.
There we go.
There you go.
Completely on the outside looking in.
So one pipe is pumping in and the other pipe is pumping out.
Anyway, you've got some type of airflow inside the ship.
Yep.
And I think that is the last image in this set.
Okay.
So we are going to be moving into our final set of images here. Just bear with me a sec while I bring those up.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. So let's look at her skin and bones here.
Yeah. So this is underneath. I'm in the forward fire room, and folks, this is a screen cap from our last video. And if you go to the kids channel, to the Dry Dock playlist, you'll see the thumbnail is this picture, and it says bones. And if you like spelunking, cave diving, whatever you want to call it, then you'll like this video, because I'm in a hard hat crawling through very tight spaces. One of our most viewed videos is a short excerpted from the footage taken for this video. And it's me climbing, doing a double reverse limbo to get out from under the boiler, climbing out of the boiler. And it got 1.4. Yeah, when you come down, I'm taking you down there.
I'll real quickly. When I was watching that, you were making me claustrophobic watching you crawl in and out of there. Anyway,
but yeah, it got 1.4 million views. It was a little short, and people just went nuts. And the funniest thing to me, the most ironic thing, was it's showing you the boilers. You can see it's the boilers and everything. And we put it into the description of what it was. And people don't get to go down there very often. Like somebody said, will we ever get to go down there? I want to do a propulsion tour eventually. But up till now, very few people, unless you were a veteran who served in one of those places, very few people have gotten to go in there. And so I figured, hey, this will be neat. People will like to see this. And the first thing that happens, you see me coming out of this hole, and I take and put my hand down on the deck, and I reach up with my left hand to grab something to pull myself out, right? Go figure, it's the internet. You never understand what's going to happen on the internet. The first thing that happened, everybody zeroed in on my hand on the deck, and you have, man, that dude ain't got no fingers. And boom, the video takes off. The old vets were like, that man looked like he was 70 when he climbed out until he straightened up, and then he looks 20. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I look right. 30 years younger. Thank you. But all the old vets who had done what I was doing there, they were focused on what was happening and where we were at. Everybody else was locked in on the hand, and it was just hilarious. And so guys like that, I was having fun with them in the comments of, guys like that. We all were having fun with them. That dude ain't got no fingers. Well, you need to go back to remedial math, because he's got two. So, yeah.
I think John's referring to Laffy here.
4 kamikaze. It was much more than 4.
It was more than 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Read up, John.
8
read up on
the 4 planes. Yeah.
Read up on USS Laffy. The nickname, the ship that would not die.
Yes, and John, she is still in existence, and she is in South Carolina at Charleston at Patriots Point. Hey, call me, buddy. Call me. It's not the hand that's creepy. It's me.
So what's the fix here, Tim? What did we?
So this is one of her longitudinals running fore and aft. And If you go watch the video, you'll find out our theories of what contributed to this. But it's deteriorated. It's not connected to the skin of the ship, and so the flexing of the skin in that area when she sat down on the cradle. This is 4 feet off the keel. Helped contribute to one of our leaks. And so Thomas E., the fix is basically they've gone in, and if it's good metal, if not too much of the metal is deteriorated, then you cut the deteriorated sections away until you get to good metal, and then you weld in new metal and connect it to the skin of the ship. If too much of it is deteriorated, like I would theorize this is far too deteriorated, then they chop this out and they put in a new piece of longitudinal to go in, to match it what it originally was and connect it to the skin and to the rest of the skeleton. And that's the fix. And that keeps that skin from flexing back and forth whenever she's sitting down.
There's another angle.
There's same longitudinal, but just you're seeing the full length of it between the frames, which are going side to side, port to starboard. Full length of that longitudinal between those two frames was rotted out.
Is this where
this is by far the worst one that I saw underneath the boilers?
Is this where the leak occurred when you were coming up Homa Nav?
No, that was actually in the reefer. It sprung.
Okay.
It sprung in the reefer. The reefer had a leak when we left home, and it was a seeping leak. We never really were able to find it, and ultimately never did find it. We have a theory that it was coming through the wiring that was passing through the hull from the sonar dome. So the rubber on the wiring gave way to what it was connected to, and it was seeping through the wiring and coming out of the wiring where it had been chopped in the reefer. The leak that you're referring to popped a little bit further up the curve of the hull, right in the reefer void.
Okay.
So not where the pumps were, not where I can walk and everything, but when you crawl down into a tight space like this in the void.
Right. Yeah, this might be a little out of order, but I think this is more recent than what we were just looking at.
This is last week when I ended up taking a nap on the office floor because I was so tired. We shipped 4 of our 20 millimeter guns back to Homa. And no, I take it back. This was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
The first shipment went out. The second shipment was where I laid down on the floor and went to sleep. The 20 millimeters on starboard side are back in place, and the 20 millimeters on the fantail are back in place.
And I would imagine, the Boy Scouts and the school groups, they're going to, when they get back on the ship, they're going to be able to pretend they're shooting at planes in the skies. They'll be movable, and you can tilt them up and down and all that good stuff.
Yep. Usually we keep the ones on the sides locked down because they have locking mechanisms that they were designed with originally. We'll keep them locked down and we'll exercise them every once in a while. The fantail is usually where we unlock them and let them play with them because we have the quarterdeck watch there. We can keep an eye on them and make sure they don't do something stupid and where they can get hurt. And you'd be surprised what the general public will do sometimes. They'll be swinging them around and they'll be about to clock, an 8-year-old because he's taller than normal and those barrels are about to whack him in the head and mom and dad aren't watching. It's like, okay, everybody off the gun, stop. This is what's happening. So
yeah, you think I would be surprised, but I really wouldn't. I think I know the answer to this, but you of course answer.
The second, John, the second.
Ken has a question.
Were some of these guns sent out for reconditioning and restoration? They came home to Baton Rouge, Ken, and I don't believe when you were here that you met Nathan Bergeron, but you've probably seen him in some of our videos. In fact, there's one video specifically in the Kid Cave, uh, as Molly titled it. Originally, she titled it. But that was Nate's nickname for the warehouse where he was doing the restoration on all these.
I think there should be a kid signal if we're going to have a kid cave.
You know what? I had to kind of sit on Parks a little bit because he was joking in front of Nathan about that, and I said, okay, stop, because Nate. And I say this in front of him, so I'm not making fun of Nate. Nate is the living embodiment of wish fulfillment. Nate would have stopped everything with the restoration and designed a bat signal to attach to one of our searchlights. And I'm like, no. You can do that after we get the ship home. Don't do it right now. So time is of the essence.
So we're going to start a fundraising campaign to get that man the paint he needs for this.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be paint. It would be an attachment that straps to the light.
Okay, well, whatever we got to do, Let's see. Here we go.
There's the one on fantail. Look at the beautiful work he did on the gun sight mount.
That looks amazing.
And I broke his heart. I could literally see his heart break when I'm like, you do know we have to paint that nice shiny bronze, right? And he's like, what? And I'm like, there's nothing shiny in the camouflage. They paint the wood, they paint all the bright work, and you could just see him kind of wilt for a second. I felt so bad.
Okay, going back to our symbol for the kid.
Yeah,
Anna has a great idea right there.
Should be a skull and crossbones. Okay,
or it could be a silhouette of the pirate. Same one that's on the funnel.
Possible. Yeah. What was Sir Boone's what? I didn't see it. West Virginia.
They're talking about battleships. I hit that one by accident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What are we looking at here?
Those are our 2 torpedo directors from the bridge, and they have been restored. Nate was working on both of them. We got to a point to where, okay, we're running out of time. We're going to need a little bit more help. And if you've been watching our social media, you saw us talking about Roaring on the River, our annual fundraiser, which was held on September 11th. We give an award at that fundraiser called the Patriot Award to someone in the community who is a veteran and who has contributed to the community, given back to the community quite a bit. And this year's recipient was Mr. Roland Stoops, who only recently, in the past year or two, retired from Turner Industries as the CEO of Turner Industries. And in visiting with Mr. Rowland and with his son, Stephen, and others from Turner, we were telling him about what we're doing in the shipyard, what we're doing at the warehouse and everything. And Turner is a big company, big, man, they do all sorts of stuff. And I said, we're kind of getting a little tight with the time. And Parks, said, hey, do you have any recommendations? And Mr. Toops went, to somebody in his entourage, hey, come here, and brought him over. He said, tell him what you got. And we described it. And he said, we can help them with that, can't we? And the guys were like, oh, absolutely, Mr. Turner or Mr. Toops. And so by Monday, I sent them a list the same day of what we needed. And Turner came over and with a forklift, they took the stuff to their location. They've got this huge paint room, and they cleaned the equipment up and brought it down to bare metal and painted it up, primed it, and it looks beautiful. And we can't thank Mr. Rowland, Mr. Steve, and all the guys over at the Turner enough. This really,
they look great.
Yeah, it got us to the finish line. And in 2 weeks, they're going to bring their forklift back over, and they're going to load up the last few things that we've got at the warehouse. And this isn't everything we've got at the warehouse. This is just the stuff that has to be lifted off and lifted back on with a crane. That that torpedo director there probably weighs somewhere in the range of 1,800 pounds, maybe. Yeah, it's not light. I can't bench press it at all.
Speaking of which, we've got some questions from folks about the torpedoes, so I'm gonna bring up a few of those for you.
Black powder charge. The air compressed stuff was only on the PT boats until after the war. The light cruisers that had torpedoes, the destroyers, the DEs, all of them launched with black powder. Torpedo, the tubes do still turn. I can only turn it about 90 degrees at this point because my torpedo crane is locked up and there's a piece that flips over out of the way so that the tubes can pass over the top of it. And that's locked up. And when we get back to Baton Rouge, that's one of the projects I want to do is get that freed up so we can keep them mobile and rotating. Thank you, Sir Boomslot. We did some checking, and there are not a lot of those directors still around. If I remember correctly, Cass and Young still has one. And then I'm not sure about Laffey. I don't think Laffey has them because I don't think she has those types of torpedo tubes anymore. Same for the Gearings. They don't have those types of torpedo tubes, so their directors are understandably different. Sullivan's doesn't have her torpedo tubes anymore, so I'm not certain if the director is there. Odds are, if it's like what happened with our 40 millimeters, when they pull the weapon system off, they pull the directors off and everything else associated with it. So I would feel comfortable putting money down saying that Sullivan's doesn't have it. I haven't talked with Shane about it, but
we talked about this when we did our World of Warships stream. The answer is 0.
Yep.
So why is the answer 0?
Do you really want that big of a warhead sitting out on deck rolling around or being shot at? And they're 2 tons each. It's not easy to load them on a moving ship.
So the answer is she went out with what was loaded in, and that was it.
In her original configuration, you had 10 shots. You made them count.
Right. And then she got modified down to 5.
You make those 5 count. There's no reloads.
There was another question I wanted you to answer. Let's see. Let me find it real quick. Here we go.
Is there a nonprofit foundation in charge of running the museum like New Jersey? There is. We have a 17-member board commission from the state of Louisiana that oversees operations. They're responsible for what we at the museum do. So they provide oversight and make sure that we're not taking her out on joyrides and wasting money and everything, that we're actually taking care of her. There is a nonprofit, and the state agency, the commission, is a nonprofit. So because it's a government agency. So we're nonprofit in that manner. And then we have for lack of a better word, a Friends of Foundation, a Friends of the Museum Foundation, that goes out. It's nonprofit, and it goes out and raises money to support the museum, since the museum and the government, the state commission, doesn't get any state funds on a regular basis. We get no state funds year to year. Were they called on to launch torpedoes? Yeah, you see a lot of launchings in the early days of the war, particularly around Guadalcanal, launching at other ships. And the torpedoes really were only used for launching at other ships. A lot of people think that we launched them at submarines, and that just wasn't the case. If they did, I haven't heard about it, but yeah, the torpedoes were meant for ship to ship. So you have them in and around Guadalcanal, and I would say I think I would be safe in saying that the last torpedoes launched by U.S. destroyers against an enemy would probably have been Johnston and Howell and
Samar.
the DEs, and what was the third destroyer? Shoot.
You just mentioned DE, and that reminds me of a question that I was wondering about. And you maybe it's two questions, but you might be able to answer them both with one answer. I was wondering, does Slater in particular have torpedoes, or do any destroyer escorts have them? Because I've been on Stewart at the Galveston Naval Museum, and she does not have torpedoes.
I believe there was only one class of DE that had torpedo tubes, and that was the class that was Samuel B. Roberts. And I don't remember the class name off the top of my head. Yeah, but there were some, but it was one particular class. And I think there's 4 or 5 classes of DEs.
The only one I know of is the Etzel class, because that's what Stewart is.
Okay. And I think that's what Slater is as well. Or there's a Butler class, there's a Stewart class. What was the class? Not Stewart.
Ken said I mentioned Butler.
Yeah, I think the Butler class was what Samuel B. was.
Mm-hmm. Let's get back into our photos here.
Mm-hmm. We got the left one and the center one are the 40 millimeter gun directors for our quads that are located at midships. And the one on the right is for one of the twin 40 millimeters up front. This would have been one of the ones sitting up on the bridge level. So they did a great job. Turner knows how to clean and paint.
Yes.
Yes, John. On the Arizona.
Let's see. And
these are 2 Polaruses. These would also be mounted, one on each bridge wing on the bridge level.
I know what that is.
And that's them fully loaded up and ready to leave.
I'm assuming, judging by that paper that's on the glass has been restored as well.
No, it's just taped off so that
for the painting.
For painting, yeah.
Okay. Are you restoring the glass or no?
No, there's really no need. They're in good shape. We generally try to keep canvas covers strapped across the glass to help protect it.
Okay.
And that's what they would have done back in the day too. They had canvas strapped to them, so they could just drop it off at the moment's notice and light it up.
Do they still work?
They can be. One of them can be made to work. They're not hooked up electrically or anything. It's something we have to jury rig to make them work.
Okay.
You had somebody on the director, and those directors will tilt forward to handle elevation of the gun. They'll rotate, so it handles the rotation of the gun, and it has a trigger on it. So the same sort of gun sight on the directors can be found on the 20 millimeter guns at midships. And what it does, it has different filters for different times of day, whether it's dusk or dawn, or whether it's high noon or it's cloudy or something. And then the way it works, if the gun is pointed like my hand, then the director is slightly offset from it, and you can adjust it accordingly so that it gives you the lead on the aircraft. So if you're pointed this way and you're pointed this way and the barrels are pointed that way, you're shooting ahead of the plane if you're targeted the plane, so that the bullet will get to the location that the plane is going to be in. So all of that is handled by the guy on the director. The guys on the 40 millimeters are basically sitting there as backup in case that breaks. And then they can take over cranking it and elevating, turning it. The only guys working on the gun mount while the guy is working the director are the ones feeding the ammunition to it.
I know I asked you this once before, and I don't remember what the answer was. But the radars, can they still turn?
On the mast?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. The air search and the surface search radars still turn. Now on the 40 millimeters, there's range finding radars, but those move with the gun. They don't rotate on the gun.
Okay.
And then our gun director, our Mark 37 gun director on top of the pilot house that handles the range finding for the 5-inch guns, that still rotates as well. When you watch Greyhound, that is not CGI. That is, they put a little DC motor onto the crank shaft, and just like they did on the 5-inch guns, and it cranks. They go 3, 2, 1 on the big God mic, they call it, and rotate, and then all of them start rotating at the same time. Everybody, there's somebody in the gun director, somebody in each of the guns, and they push the activate button, and that little motor starts cranking, and all of them rotate into position. So there is the completed expansion joint. You can see the rubber seal underneath.
Yep.
That's bolted in.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and that's in sick bay.
And there it
New
is, all
plate on
nice and
top.
new. Yep. Now, is that also rubber? Just a different color rubber?
No, that's steel.
It is steel. Okay.
It's steel.
Yep, there we go.
That is in the supply office off to starboard of the sick bay. And you see how it makes that curve coming down. Yeah. So any water that gets in there under that plate or under any of the plates just slides on down and then hits the main deck and rolls off the ship.
Rolls off. Yep.
And you see it's got a steel pocket around it so that it just dumps in there and then goes on out. It doesn't come back into the space.
Right.
Very simple, stupid.
But effective.
But effective. The simplest things work the best sometimes.
Right.
And of course, they've got the stainless steel plating here in the galley where it's coming down the side, surrounding it, because you've got the high pressure steam kettles right around it. So or not high pressure, but high temperature steam kettles, and they, you don't want that excessive heat damaging the gasket.
Another shot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're getting towards the end here.
Oven's back in place. Steam kettle's back in place.
Yep. We're just about to the end here. So
we're
looking at a partially painted upper hull right here.
Yeah, they started priming, and I'm not sure. I can't tell you why they're going down the length, one section at a time and then coming down the length again below it. I don't know the logic behind it, but yeah, they started at the top of the hull and they're working their way down. And this is the primer coat. So this is the first layer.
And below is the zinc that's been on it all this time.
Correct.
And we can see right here, when we were talking about the cradle and the collars earlier, these are the collars that are attached to the ship.
And if you look at the inside of it, you see where the rubber is bolted in on the inside curvature.
Yeah. I know the answer to this, Tim, but I think you should answer that.
No, we're forbidden from using the galley. The Navy, when they were doing inspections, because ours works, or ours worked, I'll say that. We had too many people coming through and spinning dials and you would walk through and you'd pass one of the stoves and you'd just feel heat emanating from it, and you'd reach out and, is that hot? Oh, that's hot, and turn it off. And so it got to the point where people weren't leaving it alone, so we had to disengage the breakers on it and shut it down so that people wouldn't get hurt.
And I would also imagine along those same lines with modern day, like Board of Health regulations and whatnot, you wouldn't want to be using it.
We warmed food up. We cooked in there at one point in '96 when we had the field days starting up. But the cook that we had come in and take over, he was like, he's very particular about sanitary conditions and everything. So he's like, I'd rather cook in the building. And we're like, absolutely, no problem. So, and then we started having trouble with, people messing with the controls. So we disengaged it. So we broke the rules unknowingly. We went back and looked through the contract after the Navy told us, and they're like, it's in your contract. And we're like, oh, sorry.
I would imagine no to this as well.
Not for cooking in there. No. We did have at one point one of our World War II officers. He asked if he could have his birthday party in the wardroom. And so they did his birthday party in the wardroom. They hired a caterer who cooked in the building and then transported it out to the ship and on the wardroom. The problem with having food like that and dinners on the ship is the potential to have rats, because we can't pick up our gangway like the ships in port do. They come down the gangway just like we do. And people kind of find that amazing. Like, oh, well, if you dropped a bit of food, how are they wouldn't smell that. They actually will. I found a very thick line of ants at one point up on the levee walking onto our gangway, or not gangway, but the walkway, the concrete walkway, leaving the levee headed toward the ship. And so I followed thinking something must have died or something. And I mean, this is a big, thick line following the curb, going all the way down, and it gets onto the gangway, and it's just trucking right on down the gangway. I'm like, what is going on? And I get to the ship, and I'm not exaggerating this, I followed this line of ants from the levee, down the walkway, down the gangway, up the length of the ship, down 2 ladders into the enlisted mess deck, over to the bulkhead and up the side of the bulkhead and down a bunk chain going under one of the mattresses. And I lifted the mattress up, and some little turd had left a lollipop. We tell the kids not to bring any food into the ship, down inside the ship. And he had left a lollipop, and it was summer, and that sucker had melted. And the ball of ants that was around this lollipop, oh, it was bad. So,
and there's that line again.
Yep.
And that's our thumbnail, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is coincidentally already outdated.
Yes.
And another close. This is the one you sent me originally, but I like the previous one better. That's why I used it for the thumbnail. And again, we can see the collars right here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's that rubber you're talking about. Okay, and let's see. Here we go. Here's what's different.
Secondary coat is going on. This was sent to us yesterday.
Yeah, this kind of surprised me when I saw this. Well, the next image, because I think I texted you. I'm like, Photoshop? ? You're like, no, it's really red.
It's really red.
It's like, I've never seen a red primer before.
Well, it's going to work good because it's going all the way down, and of course, the top coat under the waterline will be red. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. It's going to be red under the waterline to simulate the what do you call it? The anti-foulant that normally
Yeah,
is on.
anti-fouling. Yeah.
But the when the red started fading out here in Baton Rouge, it had a tan coat underneath it. And in some sections, the red had almost completely disappeared, but the tan coat was still intact. And you didn't see the silver coat that was the primer, that was the base coat. And people would see the little flecks of red on the tan and just get irate. You know, when the river's down and they're walking around out there, they would get irate and they would come into the museum. Y'all are letting that ship just rust in half. Oh my God, get down there and do something. And it's like, what are you talking about? The paint job's fine. And they're like, no, it's rusting. And you know, it'd be like, what are you looking at? And then we get down there and it's like, that's the red top coat that's gradually wearing away. You know, we're trying to go to dry dock. This is all going to be blasted off. But at no point, except where you would have those little rust eruptions that you know they had to come back and do that clad welding. At no point did any of the prime coat ever show through the secondary coat. So Basic Industries, who did the paint job back in 1998 when we blasted and painted there in Baton Rouge, they did a fantastic job. Ablative paint, yes.
Let's see. This is the first one I saw. Is that someone in the yard or is that Parks? Because I saw Parks.
Oh no, Parks was in Ireland when we got these pictures. He just got back today.
So that's someone in the yard.
That's somebody in the yard taking pictures and sending them to us.
And you can see a clear difference in the red right here. So would I be correct in assuming that from here on down is going to be the anti-fouling?
Well, we won't actually have anti-foulant because anti-foulant is actually designed for salt water. When they first brought KIDD to Baton Rouge, they put anti-foulant on it, and the fresh water hit it when they put it back in. And when the water went down, it had taken on the color of the Mississippi River. It turned this nasty, muddy brown, and people all the time was like, "Go wash the ship, you lazy." You know what's going so? It's just like, that's the paint, dude. And they're like, what? So you gotta look at the chemistry behind what you're putting in the water and what type of water and all that. Yeah, so that's them. They got the prop covered up against overspray.
Yep, the big potato chips.
Yeah. So after the red now comes the dazzle. They're masking off right now, and they're gonna start applying the black and the gray in the dazzle format. And so that will not be sprayed. That is actually going to be hand rolled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So if I were to make the trip there tomorrow and just kind of get a bird's eye view, I would see masking all over the hull.
I would assume so, but I would say it's a safe bet. Yeah.
Okay.
They've got some projects lined up behind us, so you know we're in literally in the final stages. We've got maximum 5 weeks before she gets wet again.
Yes, they are
bronze manganese to be exact.
Yeah. So looking at all of that, I think that was that was the last image right there. Painting the hull, you always said that was going to be the final thing they do. So when that's done, are they going to sink the dry dock and do a test? You know, water leaks?
I've been told that before she gets wet, we will be like last year in September, they had me come out and help them go through every single space below the main deck and do a walkthrough and crawl through and basically inspect the ship looking for problems. So we're going to do apparently the same sort of thing and just go walk through, crawl through, and make sure that everything is put back together the way it should be. All the electrical is working like it should. and here's all the repairs we did. Put your eyeballs on it. So that everybody is on the same page before she gets wet. And then based on most dry dockings, most every dry dock I've ever heard of, they'll put her in the water and see if there's any leaks. If there's any leaks, they'll bring her back up and adjust accordingly.
I know, as far as I know, you don't have an answer for this one yet, correct?
I do not have an answer yet. The folks at the level above me are still talking and looking and negotiating and whatever other verbs are involved in the process. There were several different options we were looking at, talking about before now, but over the past year and a half. I don't know where we're at on all those because my attention has been laser focused on what's going on in dry dock.
Correct.
They've got another project coming their way because I just signed the contract today. Our foundation gave us the money to get a new air compressor because our 1941 air compressor is not generating pressure anymore. 80 something years. It's 84 years? 84 years. It's had a good long service life. So it's going to get a rest, and you'll be able to see it on that propulsion tour that we're going to put together.
Excellent. Oh, wait, we do have one more thing.
What's that?
Sorry. I almost missed this.
Go Tigers.
I'll leave it up for a sec so folks can read it. But we're referring to LSU's most recent baseball national championship.
That was right around July, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And John says he hopes to visit Mobile and Charleston this year. I'm going to probably be in Charleston sometime next year. Of course, I've been to Bama many times. I highly recommend BB60.
They do good work over there. They really do.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because Matt's bigger than me.
Of course not.
He could hurt me.
Yeah. I think he could probably hurt a few people.
Yeah. All at the same time.
Yeah. But no, if you're planning, speaking from personal experience, I've been there 7-8 times in the past 10 years. They really should be thanking you guys for going to dry dock, because when I need a museum ship fix, I can't just go out to Baton Rouge. So I got to go to Mobile. So they've benefited from you by me visiting there, from you guys being in dry dock.
Well, no. I got a special treat back in May because we went over to Mobile to do some filming at the Chickasaw, what used to be the Chickasaw location for Gulf Shipbuilding, just north of Mobile. And Matt and his new director, who I haven't met yet, Nightcan, who I haven't met yet, they were generous enough to let us stay on the Alabama overnight. Nice. And that way we didn't have to spend money on a hotel room. So we really are #one fleet. I keep saying it, and probably people are sick of me hearing it, or hearing me say it, but we all help each other when and where we can.
Yeah. And if you're going to visit the Alabama, I recommend getting there right when they open, because you can really spend all day in that place from open to close. I've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
So just be aware.
And I'll say this: when I first visited in '95 or '96, that was not the case, because there were a lot of compartments on the battleship that were empty. It's like a bunk room or whatever. It's think about how many people are on a battleship. It's repetitious to put all those bunks in and find all those bunk frames and everything. So they don't have a museum building. They have the aircraft hangar, but they don't have a museum building to build exhibits in. So they have slowly taken all of that extraneous space and started interpreting the ship and interpreting World War II, her time period and everything, and connections that Mobile, like the cruiser Mobile, and they've got a room for one of the Fletcher class destroyers. I want to say it's the Evans, or I may be wrong, but one of the Fletcher class destroyers that we were doing the video on, that was built north of Mobile, and has a connection to the local population. So they've done a fabulous job. I can't say enough good things about what they're doing in Alabama.
Oh yeah, for sure. Seconded. Okay. You know it from the insider's perspective, and I know it from the tourist perspective. And yeah, I think we're both on the same page. So
yeah.
Tim, I think we're about done here.
Okay. Well, we had some catching up to do, and now everybody, if you haven't been watching the videos, go watch the videos. You'll see it kind of in progress as it's happening, but yeah, we're in the home stretch. She's getting ready to get wet.
So you want to be subscribed to the kids channel if you're not, because I would imagine you're going to see some more updates coming up, because as Tim says, next month she's out of there, and you don't want to miss that footage when they start putting it out.
And we'll have some video updates about some of the stuff. You've seen the still photographs here, because I've been videoing as we've been going. Ken, that is, you can find it in the drydock playlist, and it's the one with the thumbnail bones. So
I think that's the last video you guys put out, the last full length one.
That's the last full length one that we put out. Of course, Molly got an adult job, and Omar, life got in the way, so he's you go check out his site, Oakwash. He makes, Omar's a freaking artist. He makes these ceramic tiki mugs that are just fantastic.
Yeah, they really.
If I didn't work nonprofit, I'd probably buy some of them. But I mean, he is one of the premier, if not the premier, tiki mug manufacturers in the world. And he stopped for a while. I guess he got burnt out or something. I don't know. But he stopped for a while to come work for us. And then, something happened. He's like, I got to go back and start making tiki mugs again. So that's what he's doing now. He's doing good. He jumped in on Roaring on the River in front of the camera with me. And we tried to do some live on the spot stuff, but our audio was not that great. So I apologize if you saw that and felt it was a waste of your time. So, but Alcy helped me with those two videos, the update of the new contract, and Alcy has moved on. He's taken his shot at Hollywood. So we wish him well with that. And we are in the process. It's me by myself again, folks. I'm a horrible person to work with. I keep losing people. But we're currently interviewing some folks to come in and do editing, and we've got a backlog of material. So as soon as we get some folks hired and they have a couple of weeks of pulling stuff together, we should be cranking some stuff out. And of course, we'll be live streaming, I would expect, like we did when we put her into dry dock. We'll be live streaming when she goes down. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be when you're live streaming and you're going down the home and nav, you hear somebody screaming your name, that might be me.
Well, hopefully this time I'll be on deck the whole time, and there won't be a flood alarm going off and me running down to the reefer deck again. So
right. Tim, where can people go to learn more and support the USS KIDD Veterans Museum?
You can go to USSKIDD.com and you can donate there, which, the job's not done. I mean, the ship may be coming down out of dry dock, but we still have restoration going on in the warehouse. We still need to keep the lights on, and we still need to pay people so that the crew that we still have, the core crew that we still have, is still around when she gets home to put her back together. And that's something I want to emphasize to folks. When she gets to Baton Rouge, there's going to be a delay between, she's not just going to pull right up into the cradle and the gangway fall into place, because that's a big gangway. That's something got lifted off by a crane. Once we get the gangway down, then we've got to start moving equipment back on board and putting stuff back together. It took us 6 months, 9 months, something like that, to take her apart, to get ready for the move. And so it's going to take us that long to put her back together again. So she'll be opened up faster than that. But when you come on board, if you don't see sick bay decked out like it was before with all the equipment and models and everything, that's why. So be patient with us. We'll get her worked up and be in tip top shape with all the artifacts back in place soon enough. But the biggest thing that we're going to be aiming for is to get the bunks back in place, so that we can start overnights up again, because this is the longest that the overnight program has ever been down. It's been continuous from 1984 until 2024 when we pulled her out. So 40 years. So we'll get the overnights going, we'll get day tours going, and we'll keep populating stuff. So just be patient with us. We appreciate it. You can go to our Patreon, where we're trying to do some exclusive content, just for those folks, or sneak peeks. I gave them a sneak peek of the painting of the hull late last week, or early this week, rather, Sunday, and then that went out on Facebook and all the other platforms. We've got YouTube. If you watch any of the videos on YouTube, you're making money for us because the YouTube channel is monetized. So you can even is YouTube listening? You can put the videos on repeat, put the playlist on repeat.
Yes, it works.
It's the longest, biggest playlist we got. Put it on repeat and go away and go to sleep and let it run all night. And it'll be a while before the bots on YouTube realize, hey, this guy's got it on and stop letting us make money for that particular ISP. Wait a day and go do it again. You can raise money fast that way.
And after you run through kids' playlist, run through mine.
There you go. Do it for all your favorite museum ships.
Yes,
we're on Facebook. Facebook is monetized, so go watch you can go to Facebook and watch stupid videos of me from 10 years ago, as Captain Two Finger Kidd, trying to ransom Disney-like princesses because they can't use the Disney name, and watch that, and it makes money for us. So Instagram, we're on Instagram, we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, we're on TikTok. I think that covers it. Patreon, yeah. So
yeah, you're on way more social media than I am. So me and social media.
I don't understand TikTok, so I don't do TikTok. We desperately need somebody in our social media department that's younger than me that knows how to handle TikTok.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, that is going to wrap us up for this week. I thank everyone so much for watching us talk about KIDD. And again, make sure you're subscribed to their channel, to all their social media, because within a month or so, she's coming out, and you don't want to miss that content. It's going to be pretty sweet.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And I just want to say, this past year and a half has been an interesting journey with YouTube. I'm having people come up to us just out of the blue. We were at Roaring on the River, and there were two guys, twins, who showed up, and they caught my attention, and were like, we watched the channel, we watch every video. Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. We love the KIDD. We slept on the KIDD when we were kids and everything. I see that more and more. Miss Darlene is probably watching right now. She's down in Homa. She came out and bought Parkside lunch because she watches her.
Hi, Darlene.
Watch the channel. Hey, Darlene, if you're watching. The support that we've seen is just really phenomenal. I fully expected the Bones video, people to see the condition of the stuff under the boilers. and just be ready to hang me from a yardarm. And people listened to the explanation of why that was, and they accepted it. And they're like, hey, that makes sense. And it's amazing. Probably a bunch of the other ships in the fleet are that way too. And you're understanding the plight that these museum ships have, and the challenges, and you're supporting us. You're supporting Cobia, you supported Jersey, Texas, all these ships that are going into dry dock. You're supporting KIDD, and we really, really appreciate that. So thank you to everybody watching, and that has watched and that will watch.
Well said. All right, everybody. Good night. Thanks for watching again.